Welcome back to Real-ationship Goals, a podcast all about exploring the realities and complexities of healthy relationships. Real-ationship Goals is a project of the Prevention and Education team at the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. If you or someone you know has experienced sexual violence or harassment and is seeking support services or needs more information, links to resources and our hotline number can be found in the description. The views expressed in this podcast are those of the hosts and guests and do not necessarily reflect those of their organizations or affiliates.
Hi everyone, welcome back to another episode of Real-ationship Goals. I'm your host. My name is Mónica. I use they, she pronouns, and we actually have had past ghosts. Y'all aren't ghosts. Past hosts here with me, but actually today they are guests, and so please introduce yourselves.
Yes, so I am Brooklyn, and I go by she, her pronouns, and I'm an intern here at the Advocacy Center.
What type of intern? What you studying?
Social work intern.
Okay.
My name is Kyah, and I'm also a social work intern here with Prevention and Education.
Okay, beautiful. Okay, so now that we got introductions, we are bringing back another episode of Community Partners, and this is actually our last episode of the season. Exactly, slay. As y'all say, I'm hip and young too. Oh gosh, I feel a huge gap with y'all right now. Okay. It's because I got my professional voice on. But for this season, we have been focusing on folks who, for community partner episodes, folks who have worked with youth. And I really wanted to hear from y'all's journey with working with youth, because while y'all do groups, which we'll talk about more in a little bit, y'all have had more experience prior to that. Whichever one wants to start, just about your journey of working with youth.
You can start.
I've worked just at my church growing up. I taught VBS and with the youth and done events with them.
That's weeks long.
Yes, for weeks. Yes, in the summer, and then also I've taught. Or coached Little League basketball teams. So I've done that for 2 years in a row now and worked with them and kind of that way, so.
Dang, shout out to you. Because those are week-long, everyday type of situations.
This is true.
What age groups?
I've done
She said this is true.
5th, 3rd and 4th, and 1st and 2nd.
Wow.
Okay, they're littles.
Yep,
The littles.
How about you, Kyah?
Yeah, I've done a lot, but I've worked with youth who have been in foster care, in group homes, and then also those who identify as refugees as well. And then I was an intern at CPS for a year for my undergrad internship.
Did that look like case management, visitation type of situation?
Mostly case management. I would go with case managers to do interviews. And
the foster care, working with foster care, children who are in foster care and identify as refugees, was that wasn't through school, that was through your church, am I mistaken?
it was through school, but it's a ministry through my school because it was a Christian university. So.
Gotcha. Okay.
Yeah.
Here?
No, in Arizona.
Oh, that's right. Sorry.
Yeah. No, you're good.
To you.
The audience doesn't know either.
Yeah,
so.
I'm I only know you as Waco, Kyah.
Right.
Well, so let's talk a little bit more about the groups that y'all do here. So, y'all don't have to say school names or anything, maybe just grades, but kind of talk about what y'all been working on while y'all been here.
Yeah. I have 4th and 5th grade groups, and we do social emotional learning, and some of the topics that I've covered already are boundaries, respect, empathy, handling emotions, and that's just a few of them, but there's other topics as well.
Yes, and I've also done 4th and 5th grade groups and doing the same lessons. So.
And I feel like this is a question we were kind of talking about prior to recording. Sometimes people think that kids that young can't have those conversations. And you know, when we're saying, you know, y'all are talking about boundaries and things of that sort. Is that what y'all are saying, or is it like maybe having more kid-friendly language when y'all are doing these lessons?
I think some of it you have to change, just maybe the definitions in more terms of their age. But I think using those vocabulary words like is important because it gives them the language to like learn what that is and be able to use those.
Yeah, like with consent, it's like none of the kids before I did that lesson knew what consent was, but you can phrase it of like it's giving someone permission to hug you or high five you, and also like acting out those things of like asking someone for a hug, so that they really get the concept of what consent is. Yeah,
and y'all bring up a good point, because I'm like, did I know what a boundary was when I was little? And not even like definition of how we talk about it in social emotional learning, or even physical, like this is a physical boundary, like it's a wall, it's a door, whatever. But even just, have I ever heard of that word before? Like that's a big word for Elmo type of situation. But when in this realm of sexual violence prevention, I feel like that's a constant conversation of, we have to be honest about the words and actually use them, so it is part of their vocabulary. Right now I know we're talking about like consent and boundaries, but it goes more into, you know, when students and youth are, you know, abused in any way, shape, or form, them having that language. So thank you for that. My next question is, what surprises you about the youth that you work with or have worked with?
I think kind of related to what we were just talking about, I think it surprises me how like they do have deep thoughts and deep experiences, and I think sometimes even as adults we underestimate them of how much they know or how big they can think, and so I think it just surprises me how much we underestimate them, and how they think a lot deeper than we originally think.
I think something that I've noticed, like being in this field, is like when working with children who have experienced abuse or neglect, just the joy that they still have. And like people are always like, oh, children are more resilient, and sometimes that's not true, but they still like have the joy and can find joy in life even after experiencing tough things. So
that like almost like gave me chills down my back, because you're so right. Like that almost made me tear up, because I have heard from survivors where they're like, yeah, this happened to me when I was young, but I was probably worried about my field trip to the zoo next day. And I think part of it is maybe not understanding the severity of it, or genuinely priorities are so different when you're a kid. Like I feel like there's, I don't know if you would want to call it a double-edged sword or whatever, but sometimes when kids have so much joy, but also maybe there has been abuse that's happened, but they're so joyful, people may not believe them, because how could that type of situation. So it's interesting. I didn't even think about that. I mean, I agree with Brooklyn, because I do think of when I was younger, like I remember having these conversations with my mom when I found out she had to pay bills. I was like, we have to pay for water, but we need it. And I remember she told me that, I think it's in the water bill, you know, like trash pickup is included. I was like, they don't just do that. They don't want us to have like beautiful neighborhoods. I was like, they tell us don't litter. And so I remember having these conversations with my mom, and she really had to sit me down and be like, no, girl, we pay bills. I was like, that's not fair. That's not fair. Well, thank you for that. I was going to move on with, since working with kids, I know you've done it now, but even prior, I mean, sometimes, you know, away from this camera, I feel like we're peers and we'd be laughing and stuff. But when I really think about it, I'm like, dang, y'all are young. Y'all are young. But y'all have had so much experience with youth. How do y'all think that has changed y'all? Especially given certain populations, like you're working with athletes, kid athletes, and you're working with folks who may be escaping their homes and things of that sort. Escaping their homes, like homeland, but also leaving their homes that they probably have known all their lives in foster care. So whoever wants to start.
I was going to say, I think it's taught me like patience and being patient, and also just like understanding, especially when they're at like developmental levels that are lower than you, of just making sure you're being patient, understanding, and kind with your words, because I think words can affect kids, like impact them so much, and so you have to be careful just how you're saying it and the tone of your voice. So just like being patient, understanding. And I think also we say it a lot, I think, in social work, of like meeting people where they're at. And I think that's like so important with kids, of meeting kids where they're at, and like not making them try to grow up faster than they need to, or things like that, and just even meeting them where they're at.
Yeah. Something to add to that just came to mind, but like when I was a kid, I would always hear from like my parents or even teachers of like, when you're asking questions of like why you don't know something, and you're just like, why is this, or like, why do you have to pay for trash, kind of thing. And
it's like a developmental thing. It's like when kids get to a certain age, they learn the question why.
Right.
Yes.
And they're asking why for everything.
Yes, and then the response of most adults is like, because I said so. And it's like, I've tried to not do that and actually like educate them, and like, this is why this happens. And if I don't know why, I just say like, I don't know why, but that's a good question, and we can find someone who can get that to you.
Yeah, like I feel, and I'm not like keeping tally, but I wish more adults would have told me and been honest with me that they didn't know.
Right.
And things of that sort. But I was also giggling because it is funny when the kids start like, why is your shirt red? I'm like, I don't know, I just bought it like that. And they'll be like, but why?
Yeah.
But why?
And they can just keep asking,
And I remember, the youngest in my family is like 15 or 16. I do not have little ones in like my family, but my husband's family, his youngest sibling just turned 6 or 7, and I have a lot of friends who have kids. And that ranges from like a year old to, I think one of my friends' kids just turned 7. And the things that they're learning, I'm like, you know the joke, the people will be like, it's my first time on earth. And like, I'll listen to kids, I'm like, whoa, it's like literally your first time on earth.
Yeah.
Like all this. But it's also so interesting to see how different kids are, because like I have a friend, I met their little girl, maybe she was like 5 or 6, I think, and she had like not even a play phone, it was like a real phone with no connection, like it was just off. And they found it at our garage sale, and she was just playing with it, and I was like across the table from her, and I was like, Maya, just like this, my hand, I'm like, Maya, I'm calling you, pick it up. And she goes, this is fake. And I was like, oh, wow. But I have another friend who, I think her little boy just turned 5.
Okay.
So kind of around that same age. And I saw him the other day, and we were playing restaurant. And he was like, do you want hot chocolate ice cream? I said, yeah, go ahead, give me that. And I'm like, do you have hot dogs back there? And he's like, absolutely. And I'm just like, it's so interesting seeing the kids, different developmental ages, and how quick, like from 5 to 6, things can change, but also imagination. Because I'm like, she has an imagination, but she didn't want to play with me. She's like, you're an adult, you should know that this is fake.
That made me think of like with our groups, like I have 3 groups and like 2 5th grade groups, and they're so different of like, I have to tailor my lessons differently,
even though they're the same
like age
grade.
developmentally. But
no, and and this is like the other spectrum of life. I remember I interned at a hospice agency, excuse me, and even seeing that, like I had the youngest client, she was 56, and then I had the oldest client who was 102.
Wow.
Yeah, and then, I'd go visit other people within that range, but someone who was 60-something might have been declining a little bit more than literally my 102-year-old patient, and it was so interesting, like even that side and spectrum of life, I'm like, dang, like the brain is so interesting.
Yeah.
But I started telling you all these stories and didn't even tell you what made me laugh originally. One time, Jeremiah's the third oldest. His appendix ruptured.
Oh.
So his mom had to, go with him to the hospital. The second oldest, I think, already lived away, but the three youngest had to stay home. And so we went to go watch them. And they're knowledgeable about some food restrictions, because one of them is like really allergic to blueberries. One of them cannot have dairy. And like their mom cannot have gluten. So like this is talked about, right? And so they'll try to offer us chicken nuggets. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, friends. Like me and Jeremiah are vegan. Like me and your brother are vegan. And they're like, what is that? And we're like, we don't eat, like animals, And they're like, but it's a chicken nugget. And to them, they're like, this ain't no animal. But I'm like, I literally was like, friend, let's say that name again. Chicken nugget. And I literally remember Marco being like, chicken? I was like, yes, Brother Bear. Like, that's chicken. And I could like see him. But it's like meeting them where they're at.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, because I wasn't gonna be like, duh, chicken. Yeah. It's in the name. I was like, yeah, it's a chicken nugget. And like, he's never been on YouTube and like, how is chicken nuggets made? Type of situation. Right. But I wasn't gonna shame him. And that's like such a simple example, but the principle of it can be applied to so many things.
Right.
I just really, like, does it get annoying sometimes? Like, I'm like, okay, I don't know why I bought a red shirt at Walmart. I don't know why I bought it and I'm wearing it today, But those why questions, I feel so lucky sometimes because they're asking you and they're trusting you.
Yeah.
And they think you're smart and you're going to have the answers. So anyways, I just loved y'all's response. Okay, so I did have a next question. It was, what do you think that the youth need right now to be supported, more supported? And I did put to dream big, like where it's not limitations of the education system or funding or resources or anything. What you think based on the groups that y'all have worked with, or even just, I mean, we were all kids before, we were all children.
Yeah.
As ex-kids, I guess. So I just wanted to hear y'all's opinion.
I guess one of the things that comes to mind, which this might be for like even like older youth, like adolescents more, of just like safe spaces for them to like be themselves, to like be heard, and like even to like hang out with one another. That's not like school and not just like education, but also like just finding who they are really. And I think for like even younger, I guess if we're dreaming big, like just for the world to be safe, like a safer place in general,
that's
like all the way around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I definitely think about that.
This is kind of silly, but I feel like in elementary school we have like 2 to 3 recesses, and I feel like why does it have to stop when you're an adolescent? Because being outside, like even adults need to go outside more. And now, like, you're in school and then you just go home, play video games. So I feel like we just need more outside time to go and touch grass and connect with nature.
Beat me to it.
Yeah.
Literally touch grass.
Yeah.
And I think it's so interesting because, how old are y'all?
I'm
23.
23, 22. I'm about to be 27. Which I'm like, we're peers. We're Gen Z. Okay.
Close to it.
No, but I think about how, like you're right. And then in high school, I probably was on some, and probably in middle school too, I'm too cool to be on the playground. But now in my 20s, I have sought out play.
Yeah.
Like hobbies, book club, connection, genuinely. And trying to get away from, it has to be productive. I was literally talking to my therapist about that. I was like, man, I have hobbies, but it always has like an end goal.
Right.
And it then becomes a task and it's not play anymore. And then, who was I with? We were coloring. I was like, I don't even want to do that because y'all are gonna, like right now, if I color this bear blue, I'm like, why y'all color this bear blue? I'm like, because, and to me, I'm like, I'm being playful, like I'm having no thing behind it. But I've just sought out play now.
That's good.
But I wish it was like natural, like a muscle that we never stopped working out.
Yeah, that makes me think, sorry.
No, go ahead.
That makes me think also because like little kids, they have the playground, and it like doesn't even have to be a playground for like as you get older, you know, like the outside space could change. You know, it's like picnic tables or like literally anything that's outside. So it's like the outside area also grows with the kids in school because like the grades are and classes are growing with them, but like we're not utilizing like outside spaces that also grow with them.
You just made me think about a special topics episode we can possibly have about third spaces. Because that is one thing that people talk about, and it's something that we really lack. And when you were talking about that, I think about the memes online when people would hang by the transformers, like in the neighborhood, like they would go hang by a fire hydrant or something, like let's go meet up and just hang out right there. But just having those spaces where, because look, I may be a little bit grown, a lot of my friends don't got homes like that, where I can just be like, can I come over and like, can we hang out? And things like that. And some people don't want to host like that. But there's not a lot of places where we can just go and not have to spend money and hang. Because I'm like, much love to the library, but I'm going to be loud if I'm with my friends.
For sure.
And y'all close at 8. I'm like, what if I want to see them at 9? And there's not a lot of spaces like that.
Even with like coffee shops, like you feel like you have to buy something.
And there are some times where, depending on where it's at, it'll have a sign like, buy something. Or we'll kick you out. And so, or like buy something and then you'll get the Wi-Fi code and things of that sort. And so I, in early 20s, like literally 22 kind of situation, I was at home and I had a past colleague. He was maybe in his 60s or 70s, or maybe now is, I don't know how old he is. And he was like, what do y'all do for fun? I was like, I go home. And I was like, I go home. And he was like, that is not the way to live. And he wasn't even like, go out and go to the club. Like, but he was telling me that we need to be out with people and connecting. Like, we're just naturally social beings. This has become such a different conversation, but I'm being so serious. Like, this is so important. And he told me something that he did with his friends is they would go to a specific spot. I forgot what it was. Every Thursday. Every Thursday. And not everyone would go all the time. Sometimes it may be just like 2 people. Sometimes it might be 7 of them. But they always knew they could do that. And let me tell y'all, because he was talking to me and my friend Heaven, we're the same age. We're like maybe a month apart or so. Like literally maybe a month apart. And we literally were like, yeah, we just go home. After that conversation with him, me and Heaven were going to bingo nights. Me and Heaven were going to movies. We were going to like sometimes a happy hour type of situation. But we were like, we're not living our 20s. Okay, anyways, that like turned into a conversation that was
But like even with adolescents getting to that age of like you're about to be 20, like do you want to spend your 20s at home or do you want to do it going out having new experiences? So
and it's like allowing ourselves to be uncomfortable because like I don't drink and I wouldn't even know how to act in a bar. I'm like, can I get a soda, please? Like, Diet Coke. And I used to get so nervous just to go to a bingo at a bar because I'm like, this is not my spot. And it's like allowing myself to be uncomfortable. And we were talking about that with one of our coworkers about how her son is learning to like fail and like be embarrassed a little bit. And I think when I accepted that, I was genuinely free. Like the whole like I'm cringe but I'm free type of thing. I was like, I'm allowing myself to try new things and not be an expert. Because I don't know if y'all were like this, but literally first day of school, middle school, high school, I literally used to be like, okay, you guys, what are we wearing?
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
you guys, I'm gonna get dropped off at like 8:30. I'm gonna wait for you. Like, I could not do stuff by myself. Like, I had to do, and that's not bad.
Right.
Like, kids, like, developmentally, you know, need supports like that. But we won't always have that. And I wish that was something that I learned when I was younger too.
Yeah, that's good.
And I feel like in this conversation, you know, we're all kind of agreeing and things, but it's like something I tell my sister, and I know she gets so annoyed with me. And I'm like, please, I used to be you. Is like, she'll have big feelings about certain events in her life. Friend breakups, romantic breakups, jobs getting on her nerves. And I'll try to comfort her, and I'll be like, much love, but like, what you're feeling is not unique. Like, maybe the experience, like, to each detail, yes, but like that feeling of being annoyed at your job, or, you know, you lost a friend, it's not unique. But my sister hated that. She was like, ugh, this grown, I almost cussed. This grown woman is trying to relate to me. And I feel like, I don't know, and I guess I can talk about a little bit more in my relationship goal, because it kind of ties into that. But let me go ahead and go to the next question so we can talk about that later. But if a young person was listening right now, what would you want them to take away? 6, 7? I'm just kidding. I just
Take that out.
Yeah. We want y'all not to do that, actually.
I just really wanted y'all to laugh. Now y'all say take it out. I feel like I'm talking to my sister. Okay.
I was gonna say, and I feel like this is something that I've like also like had to realize as I've grown and like still working on, of just like, you have time, like life is not a race.
That's good.
And you have time to like find who you are, and to be who you are, and to find what you want to do even. And so just to like
start over.
Right, and to just like live in where you're at now, because I feel like when like, or at least when I was young, I would be like, oh, I can't wait till I'm like this age, like I can't wait till I'm 16 so I can drive, I can't wait till I'm 18, I'm an adult, and like all those things of just wanting to grow up. But I feel like I would tell, like looking back, I would tell like younger me, like, just like live in the now, because like life does go by so fast once you
play with Barbies.
Play with Barbies.
Play with Barbies. Don't get the real makeup. Get the fake one that's on your fingers.
Yeah. My gosh.
Yes.
I know this is so cliche, but don't care what other people think. Like,
and I'm being so honest. Like, it's so freeing.
Yeah.
Like, oh my gosh.
Like, even with doing stuff alone, like I went to the movies by myself, and it was like a kids movie. Because I'm like, it's just going to be a bunch of families. And I'm like, I don't care what they think of just like a single girl going to the movies by themselves. Like,
that makes me think, in high school, there was a time where I just like, me and my friends were not getting along. I was like, girl, I want to go shop by.
Yeah.
And honestly, sometimes, and maybe this is like a perspective thing, I loved hanging out by myself because I didn't have anyone rushing me. I could go to eat wherever I wanted to.
Right.
It would get awkward when I have to sit down and I'm like, well, do I watch something on my phone? Do I people watch? But I'm like, if that's my biggest mountain to climb over, like, this is so easy. And I was actually thinking about it because it's really interesting because that's who I was. And now being married, I'm like, dude is like at my hip, just naturally, because we've also, before we ever dated, we were best friends. Like, literally fall asleep. Somebody should have foreshadowed it. Y'all, you're gonna get married. We'd fall asleep on the phone every single night, just like talking about stuff. Like, we were inseparable. And now it's still kind of like that. Like, we're like, we have our individual lives, but when it's like going to get dinner, it's like an experience that we both want to do, right?
Yeah.
But there was this one day where I was not working, but he was, and I was like, I'm not waiting for him to get off, I'm hungry. And I literally, and my favorite spot, when I like a spot, I go there.
Yeah.
Days in a row. Okay, much love. They'd be like, hey, welcome back. I'm like, don't do that. And they'll be like, we'll see you soon. And I'm like, don't do that. But anyways, I literally was contemplating. I was like, I have not gone to lunch by myself in a minute.
Yeah.
And I was like, it's not that I'm nervous, but it was like, what are people going to think for a
Right.
whole split second.
Yeah.
And I literally was like, what people don't know is that I do want this. Especially like I said, you don't have to, nobody's rushing you. You can sit there. However, I was literally doing this like, okay, it's such a, I don't like the name, but it's a Murdoku. It's like a Clue and Sudoku together.
Oh.
So I was in there with my
Never
little
heard of
book. I felt grown. But yeah, and then after that, I literally went to Ulta, and then I went to PetSmart to pet cats. And I literally, in the beginning, I was like, what are people gonna think of me? But I had so much fun. Needed that. And it's easier said than done.
Yeah.
And part of it, again, is the whole allowing yourself to fail, look weird to others. Something that my band director told me when we were in band in high school, I hated wearing those dang marching hats. Long, a little feather. And I literally was like, I'm so embarrassed. But he'd say, everyone is doing it, so you don't look weird.
Yeah.
And then we'd have to, marching band, we'd have to make weird movements or whatever on the field and super exaggerated so people could see it from the stands. And he's like, if you're not doing anything, you're the only one who doesn't do it, you'll look weird because everyone else is doing it. That really stuck with me. And I don't know why it's so hard for us to grasp.
Yeah.
That's another conversation. Special topics,
Yeah.
Write these down.
Yeah, let's write these down. Okay, you guys. Well, great conversation. I really thank y'all and allowing me to be cringe.
Of course.
So, as always, every episode has a relationship goal and a recommendation. Today, I have the relationship goal, and what I wanted to recommend or have as a relationship goal is to really show interest in the youth's hobbies. I feel like the whole 6'7", people will probably be like, oh, that's cringy. But sometimes they'll be like, oh, she's online. And I remember me being a campaign manager for somebody's city council campaign. She has an 11-year-old, I think. And one day we were at an event, and he was inside, like, it was an outdoor event, and he went inside. And I was like, what are you doing in here? He was like, I'm just watching stuff on YouTube. And I was like, okay, YouTube. I was like, do you watch streamers? And he goes, yeah, but I don't, like, watch it. I just watch clips. I was like, oh, kind of me too. And I was like, what type of streamers do you watch? He goes, Kyah, Rakai, all them. I'm like, oh, my God, they're so funny. Because I actually do watch their things. And I'm not going to say his name, but my candidate's son was like, you watch them? You know who they are? And I was like, yeah. After that, he completely opened up. He literally was like, because then we started talking about scary movies. And then he started telling me about all the scary video games. But things like that. And like showing just a simple, like, oh, I know who those people are.
Yeah.
They come across my feed. I laugh at their jokes. They're kind of funny.
Yeah.
Type of situation. It can open up such a door for folks. Like, I don't know nothing about basketball, but I could say, I don't even know his first name. And this is so bad that I even know this. His last name is Green.
Draymond Green?
Does he like to fight on the field?
Yes.
Yes, see? And I'm like, I could say that, and the kids are going to be like, oh, did you see the last game, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, little things like that. Being chronically online helps me. But yeah, just showing some form of interest, and that little connection can create, I think, like a bigger thing. And so that was going to be my relationship goal. And Brooklyn has the recommendation.
Yes, my recommendation kind of connects to what we were saying earlier, what Kyah said. But just to, when the weather is good, just go outside, get some sunshine, breathe in some fresh air, touch some grass, and just, relax outside for a little bit. And I feel like it's always helpful and rejuvenating.
Yeah,
so.
truly.
Didn't even know that was the recommendation.
I know.
before.
Yes, you said that. I was like, wow.
She read my paper.
I was like, on theme.
No, and I was telling her if she had any recommendations like local, and I know that you're not as close, but I was gonna add to the recommendation. I love the MCC track. It is kind of in a busy intersection, but it's like fenced off, and there's a track, but there's also a lot of greenery, like green space within the track, and it's not super busy. And sometimes we'll go walk our dogs there. And I'll tell Jeremiah, I'm like, we should have a picnic here. And that's something that I've been doing is I always carry a picnic blanket and my lawn chairs. I have more. That's why they've just been sitting there. But I always carry them because I never know when I'm going to be at an outdoor event.
Yeah.
So I'm always ready. And I always carry more just in case somebody wants to join me. And so I think that's a great recommendation. Kyah, do you have any? She's at her front yard. She's like, I just go outside.
Yeah, just go in my front yard.
Yeah. I live right by the Brazos
The river,
walk.
yeah.
So I mostly do that.
Yeah, that's a good spot.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right, y'all. Well, thank y'all so much.
Yes.
This will be our last episode with them, I think.
I know.
I know.
So sad.
Oh no.
I know. Well, at least we have this recorded and
Yeah.
we have a memory with you.
Yes.
And y'all laughed at me saying 6'7", and I'm not gonna cut it out. Well, thank y'all so much for joining us for another episode. It's been a pleasure. And if y'all want to follow more about the Advocacy Center, you can follow us at Advocacy Waco on Instagram and Facebook. And if you're looking for more prevention-specific content, you can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention.
And TikTok.
Oh, and TikTok, yes, where you can watch me talk about 6'7". Okay, bye, you guys.
Bye.
Beautiful.
Thanks so much for tuning in to Real-ationship Goals. This episode was produced by the Prevention and Education Department of the Advocacy Center for Crime Victims and Children in Waco, Texas. Interested in more content from P&E or the Advocacy Center? You can follow us on Instagram at ACCVC_prevention or on Instagram and Facebook at Advocacy Waco. Be sure to like this episode and follow us wherever you get your podcasts. See you next time. Bye.